July 1, but it'll
Be built in August.
build in August billing. And the 143, it's currently 130, so it's going up 13 cents to 143.
Oh.
There's currently already a $1.30 charge for the landfill because of previous increases.
I'll call this meeting to order of the Hawarden City Council. This is a regular City Council meeting. We're at the Hawarden City Hall. It is Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. It's 5:30 p.m. Taking a look at the agenda items, number one is approval of the April 8th, 2026 special and regular meeting minutes. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second.
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 All those in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. 1B is approval of the April 22, 2026 claims for payment. Been in your packet. Any questions on that? If not, I'd take a motion.
So moved.
And a second. All those in favor of approving the April 22, 2026 claims for payment, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
We've got passed 4-0 with one abstention. 1C is open business from the community. Anyone? Yes, sir.
Good evening. John Grease, still live in Hawarden. I want to discuss a little bit from last meeting where he essentially shut down the statutory process of selling the land or the corridor. Well, our last meeting, I was explaining or trying to explain the physical condition of that corridor, or I'm going to call it a corridor because it's not a street, and the parcel that I owned. I was expressing some frustration that a development deadline reversion clause was being discussed. That clause has not been applied to any other right-of-way disposition in Hawarden. Second, the morning after the vote, I met with city staff at City Hall to clarify the status of the corridor. Meaning, I asked them, what's next? I was asked if I wanted to go ahead with that clause, and I said no, because I believe it would be a constitutional violation. So I said no, and then I asked, is the city going to maintain it? And I was told yes, that they would maintain it. And they put gravel on it, snow removal, whatever. And I said, okay, I don't need it maintained right now, because I'm still a year to 2 years before the guy is going to come in with his family and build. So they said, well, just let him know. So third, following that conversation, I sent an email requesting a written clarification from the city. That was a couple days later, maybe 3, 4, I don't know. What I wanted was something in writing as far as what the maintenance was going to be for that corridor, for that plotted land. They said there isn't a maintenance plan and they're not going to provide me with anything. So at that point, or at this point, I cannot do anything because I'm not going to do anything legally, just on a verbal. So fourth, the factual status remains unchanged. The corridor is platted, unopened, unmaintained, and it is the only platted access to the parcel. The parcel remains, or will be, functionally landlocked. The city has not opened, improved, or maintained the corridor, and no alternative public access exists. Fifth, I want to note that any conditions or requirements discussed for this corridor, such as development deadline reversion clause, have not been applied to any other right-of-way transactions in the city. The city applies conditions to this corridor that are not applied elsewhere. That creates an inconsistency that becomes part of the public record. Finally, I want to reiterate that I am maintaining a factual record only. I'm not asking for a vote, not a hearing or a decision, simply ensuring the record accurately reflects the physical condition of the property, the status of the corridor, the staff conversation the morning after the vote, and the written follow-up in the current procedural posture, which appears to be nothing. So that corridor dead ends from Avenue D, it dead ends into my property. It serves no public purpose whatsoever. That's it. That's enough on that. Now I have a question on item number 8. Discussion on accessory buildings, recommended changes. I believe that's probably coming from the zoning commission. I think you were going to bring that up as far as they wouldn't have to have a zoning board of adjustment meeting unless it's going to be 1,500 square feet instead of what it is now, 1,000 or 1,200, whatever. So because of that, I want to make sure that you're also discussing what you said you were going to bundle together. If my belief is correct, I requested a 5-day minimum wait before you sent something to the zoning board of adjustment because of what happened last time. You brought that to the council, and then you sort of just balled it up together and bundled it with this other thing. So the council never had a chance, or never took the chance, to even discuss whether it's going to be a 5-day or a 24-hour deal. So I would hope that when stuff is brought to the city and brought from a citizen, that it goes to the council exactly the way they intended. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There is no mayor's report tonight, so we'll go to staff reports. Jacob.
I got nothing.
Travis.
We needed to close down the tree pile for a few weeks. We put that on Facebook. We'll try and get it out there on Channel 10 and some other locations. Because the pile got so big and it hasn't been chipped, and the contractor that we have lined up that does do our chipping is behind from the storm, and he did say we'll get here between 30 and 60 days, but he won't be here before the cleanup days. We thought it was important to keep the cleanup date the same and continue on with cleanup because everyone looks forward to that time, and a lot of times they save stuff over the winter just waiting for that time. So we are going to close down the tree pile for a few weeks until we get through cleanup, and then we'll open it back up, and then hopefully we'll get our tree pile chipped and cleaned up within 60 days. So it's an inconvenience, but we don't have an answer, another place to put it. So today's Earth Day. Yesterday, the elementary school helped do their part in town. We provided garbage bags and rubber gloves. The kids went around picking up garbage and sticks and things in the park and around the neighborhood. The 5th grade class was able to plant 3 silver aspen trees in the central park around the main playground. Big thanks to the teachers and staff and students who participated. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Travis. Misty, anything tonight? No. Jenny? And Carol, what's a good word tonight?
Just a few things, working on some housing trust funds. We've got a house that's been sold. We're going to have to work through that process with the mortgage. The grants that we're working on right now for the FEMA buyout are quite extensive and large, so that's taking up quite a bit of time. And we're working on USDA one as well for a new generator out at the water plant. So hopefully we'll be successful in those, but they are quite large grants to write. Other than that, I will talk a little bit later about some of the upcoming issues with the grant where we need the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to council comments. Anyone have anything tonight?
I just want to bring up, but we've been working for a while, the Sioux County Conservation Board has, on acquiring a boat ramp here in Hawarden. We've come to agreement on a purchase price of a parcel of ground that's along the Big Sioux, that's protected, that it won't move left or right. So that's real important. That's one thing we looked at. We've applied for some grant money through fish habitat grants, and we're successful to get part of that. I'll be asking for a commitment from the city because we're working on it as a partnership. So kind Carol has been working on land water conservation funds, applying for that as well to develop that project so we can put in the boat ramp once we acquire the land. So hopefully maybe at the next council meeting or two, I'll speak from Rob Clucky, the Sioux County Conservation Director, asking for a pledge from the city on it.
Okay. Good, thank you. Let's move on to item 3, the first reading of ordinance 763, amending the water rates.
We talked about this last month about bringing an ordinance forward, changing a rate or having a specific rate for irrigation meters at half of the current water meter rate because it's only used 6 months out of the year. So that's what this is. It's a separate line item for irrigation meters for $6.29 per month, and then we'll leave them on the billing cycle, 12 month, all year. So.
And it's basically no extra cost for customers from
No,
what
it's
they have
just-
been
yep.
paying. It's just
Same-
spread out.
Same thing, it's just gonna help us on the billing side. We're not turning them off and turning them back on and have any errors for that, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 763.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Clucky,
Aye.
Skelling,
Aye.
Warner,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Boza. That motion passes 5-0. Number 4, we need to set a public hearing for ordinance 763.
Yeah, we'll just set the public hearing for the next council meeting to give public time to come in and voice their opinion on this ordinance.
I'll make a motion to set that public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Skelling,
Aye.
Warner,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Boza,
Aye.
Clucky.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Item 6 is a resolution 2026-12 landfill gate fee.
The landfill that the local areas use to bring the garbage, they're raising their gate fee $1 starting July 1st, 2026. Per our contract with Orange City Sanitation allows them to increase their charge to the city by 13 cents per customer per month. Raising our gate fee is basically it's a pass-through from the landfill, the Orange City, to the customer. So the current rate is $1.30 per month. This addition would bring it to $1.43 per month, and that's based on previous increases we've had. Historically, we have just passed this on by increasing the landfill gate fee on the utility bill.
I also just wanted to add that on our agenda and packet that is on the website, there was a typo on this item, and it was spelled out as gate G, G-E-E. It has been corrected to the F-E-E on the ones that we have for this, for that resolution is written correctly.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-12.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions on that? If not, let's start with Warner.
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Boza,
Aye.
Clucky,
Aye.
Skelling.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you. At this time, we'll have a public hearing for the fiscal year 27 budget adoption. I will declare the hearing open at this time. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this item? Seeing none, we will close the hearing and move on to number 7, which is Resolution 2026-13, the adoption of the fiscal year 2027 budget.
So moved.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. Start with Allen,
Aye.
Boza,
Aye.
Clucky,
Aye.
Skelling,
Aye.
Warner.
Aye.
Budget passes 5-0. Item 8 is discussion on accessory buildings.
All right, so we got a couple things to talk about here. BZA met, they had a couple changes that they wanted to recommend. This was all sparked from that garage that was put in and went through the process, special exception process down at 16th and L. There was a couple things that he was trying to apply for a special exception for that they didn't necessarily want to approve as just a special exception, but they would allow it if we entertain changing the ordinance to allow certain things. These minutes were in the packet. They're also online on the website from that meeting that we had on April 9th. The recommended changes for accessory buildings themselves would be to change the maximum size to 1,200 square foot. Currently, it's at 1,000. And then they also wanted to open up more options for roof materials. Currently, it needs to be of the same material and same color for your accessory buildings, and they would like to make it just so that it's the same color only to kind of allow some of those like steel roofs for some sheds and other things, as long as it's keeping to the same kind of color structure for the property, but still leaving the siding material as it is written. Third change that they were recommending was a change to the max height. Currently, our ordinance reads that it's 2/3, the max height is 2/3 of the primary structure, or 22 feet, whichever one is lower, and they would like to change it just to a flat 16 foot inside the ordinance. The fourth line was to allow the addition of a second detached accessory building without the need for a special exception if one of the buildings is 144 square feet or less. So that would be basically covering like your garden sheds that people have been putting in. They don't think that it would be necessary to have to pay for the $200 process, get the letters mailed out for somebody who's trying to put a garden shed in if they have a detached garage behind their house. So all these changes are recommended from their board that met on just the accessory buildings alone. Now, we can kind of talk about those a little bit if you guys want before we move on, but there was also a couple other things. Like John had mentioned, we were looking at potentially adding into that same ordinance the separating out those two meetings. Because right now, the way that it's written is that they have to have their meeting after they receive a recommendation from the first board of zoning. So they would then have to meet, so the Board of Zoning has to meet, the commission has to meet, provide a recommendation for the BZA, and then the BZA can meet. And the BZA is the one that's actually, the public hearing that's sent out to everything. As far as like having a minimum of 5 days, I don't know if it's necessary to put that verbiage in there because I would have to set a public hearing after it, which is gonna be 4 to 20 days. So you're gonna have, the earliest it could possibly be would be 4 days later, assuming that I get it, actually it'd be more than that, because I have to get it to the paper by that Tuesday for it to post on that Wednesday, that Thursday. So the earliest it would even be would be 6 days. So at that point in time. So I don't know if it would necessarily have to throw in a 5-day verbiage, just have to have it so that it isn't set until after the first board meets. And then there would be no way to do it any sooner than that.
So what is the problem with the current structure of it?
You could theoretically have both meetings on the same day. The first board could
Right.
meet, get their recommendation,
And then turn
and set
around
it
pass
down, and then the other group gets together and then votes on it.
But don't they currently have to set a public hearing?
Yes.
Yep.
So what they do is they just set the public hearing for the one, and then they have the other meeting before it.
I
Oh,
don't.
I see what they're doing. I see what they're
I don't think it's a bad policy to wait
Yes.
and do
No,
the
it's
6
separate
days.
'em.
Agreed,
Yep.
separate.
I mean, if it's 6 days, it's 6 days, or
And
7
they
or
meet on an
10.
as-needed basis, not
As-
on a third Thursday of every month basis.
Now, as far as
Right.
legal talk, though, I don't know how you would write that, but that would be something that I would have Jenny help me with, if that's something that you guys would
Well, I would
be
think you
entertaining as
just-
an idea.
I would think the language would be is that you can't set a public hearing until something comes to the Board of Zoning and Administration.
Yeah.
Or,
Till we have the written.
like, you
plan,
can't set a public
recommendation.
hearing and then set the date of
Yep.
the previous meeting.
Yeah. And that easily hits your 5-day
Yeah.
minimum,
Yeah.
so, that you were discussing earlier. So, that was one of the other items. The board also, if you guys went through the minutes, did also discuss the possibility of looking at addressing campers inside the city limits, potentially looking at maybe not allowing them in certain areas. So, don't really have anything necessarily ready to, that'd be a different ordinance anyways. So the one that we're looking at here to change would all be in like one section of it, so.
I look at the building where the accessory building height is 16 feet.
That also jumped out at me.
16 feet for a garage isn't very tall. I would rather it be, it says 16 feet to 22 feet or 2/3, whichever is lower. Just leave it at maximum height is 2/3 of the primary structure and just leave it at that. That makes more
Yeah.
sense.
And I think that, yeah, or 2/3 actually could even limit somebody if they have a one-story house, then they wouldn't, if they're trying to
They wouldn't
build a
be able to have
detached
10-foot
house, then they
sidewalks.
wouldn't be
Right.
able to have a full garage, basically detached. They'd have to attach it if it was a one-story house. So if you were going to do anything with a change there,
I just think 16 foot's
Yeah, I
not
was
very
gonna say,
high.
The 16 feet stands out to me as low if
Too
I
low?
had a garage structure with a living space above it,
Or even just a garage structure with
storage above it.
a storage
yeah.
above it or anything, that's gonna be more than 16 feet.
Yeah, any
So-
full-height storage above it would be.
yeah. And ultimately, you guys will make the rules for this, right? You don't have to follow these guidelines. You guys do get to make the decisions on what's inside the ordinance, and then they'll just enforce that from there. And we can also do a little bit more research on it if you want to. I mean, I kind of can look at what other cities did, and I did actually have some of that already
Yeah.
before I met with these guys on what other cities are kind of doing for some of that.
I think the biggest thing is the square footage issue. I mean,
I agree.
what most citizens in town, everything's borderline. So the zoning board, I think, wants to try to create something that they don't have to get a special exemption on because it's 100 square foot bigger than whatever it is, so.
Mhm.
And those people are appointed and they're trying to do what's best for all citizens in Hayward. So I take their recommendations pretty highly myself, because they're the ones that are ultimately trying to make everything uniform and equal. So, but if we want to talk about the height, I have no problem with that. I think square footage, needs to be adjusted somewhat, because if you have a nice sized lot, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't be allowed to go from 1,100 square feet or whatever it is to 1,200 or whatever, so. But it all has to be the same, so.
And then I could probably pull up some of my notes on that, because there were other cities that did do like just a maximum square footage altogether of their lot that was covered between all the buildings that were on it, was one of the options that one did. Another was, but then they just has to be subordinate to the primary structure on there. I mean, there's different options. The 1,200 square foot was just kind of agreed on from them at a standpoint to kind of keep things simple.
Yeah.
Is what their thoughts were on that.
I guess what concerns me is right now you have people coming in asking for an exemption for an 1,100 foot structure, or 1,100 square foot structure, because it's a 1,000 square foot limit. If the limit's 1,200, are they just gonna have people coming and asking for a exception of 1,300 feet? Are we really solving a problem, or are we just making the problem look different?
Just extending it.
Well, if you do make the change and they know, 1,300 is what you said, that's what they go by, they just won't allow exceptions.
I think
Over
there has to be a
1,300.
cap at some point.
Right.
11, 12.
And I actually think that that is their intent behind some of these changes. I think that they're trying to lower the amount of exceptions that go through anyways. Like, if it's going to go through the exception process, it better have a really good reason to need an exception, or they're just going to vote it down.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I'm picking up from them. Like, they're trying to open up the ability for these people to do these certain things that have been getting the exceptions over and over again. And then, so they're like, well, if we're going to keep allowing this, then maybe we change this. But now, if an exception comes to us, it better have a good reason to come to us, because it's probably not going to pass.
Right. And like Rob said, if they think that 1,200 is gonna solve that problem, then I'm willing to support that.
Yeah. And this is kind of just discussion. Obviously, we got to start putting the the ordinance change together after that. So basically, I'm just going to take a collection of what your guys' thoughts are on this, and I'm going to work with Jenny to put the correct changes together in order to develop a product that we say is a better product than what we have now.
Right.
Okay. The roofing materials I'd fully support, because there's such a variety of things you can do now.
Yeah, there's so
Yeah,
many.
at least make it match your primary building.
Right.
It's color-wise.
Color-wise, yeah.
Anything else before we move on?
And then if you guys just think of some stuff in between, shoot me some emails, shoot me some discussion points, because I'd like to narrow this down, and I would like to not drag my feet on it for like a couple months. Obviously, I'd like to have an ordinance put together within like the next month, because we do have people waiting to build potentially, but,
Right.
so.
I
we
would
don't
like
wanna-
to see what similar-sized communities within,
Yeah.
100 miles do with campers.
Yeah,
And what some of those ordinances are that they have in place,
absolutely.
so.
Okay. We'll move on to item 9 with discussion on customer information systems.
All right, so kind of been talking about our software and what we've been kind of looking at doing for a while now. Currently, we have G-Works, which is our software that runs everything. It does our utility billing for us. It does our financial statements. It keeps track of all the stuff. We collect our payments through it. The software itself works pretty good. It's always had a few issues here and there, but for the most part, it works pretty good. We have a staff that knows how to run it, and we get by. Now, recently, I think a couple years ago, they were trying to force all the cities to the cloud-based version of it. And that was definitely causing a lot of issues with a lot of communities, and with that major price hike, right? So that was some of it. We did not sign up to go right away. We were kind of dragging a little bit because we'd experimented a little bit with it already. With the front desk is already one online version of this, where people can log in and see their bills online. So we started kind of looking in, getting some quotes from some other companies, and there were two that kind of stood out that other communities around us had, that we started getting quotes from, and one of them was Tyler Technologies, which also comes at a recommendation from some of our groups that we're a part of for our utilities, like MRES, and the other one was an Edmunds Gov, and they have been slowly taking over a lot of cities in Iowa as well. They both have some pretty strong points price-wise. They both come in relatively close to the same. Tyler is used by a majority of cities that have the same utilities as us. That is where Edmunds does not quite equal up to them, in my eyes, is that they didn't have any cities in Iowa that have utilities yet. So the only cities that we could reach out to ask them their thoughts on how well it works were from other states. So that was kind of one not so great point for them. Another option is obviously to stay with G-Works when they're moving to the cloud. And
That was
as-
substantially more money. So you talked about that
correct.
last year.
Well, they're all going to be on the same playing field
To go up,
cost-wise.
to go up that G-Works, that was way more money to go that,
Yeah.
because
So
we talked about that.
I mean, annually, you're talking, these are all within a couple $1,000s of each other for an annual cost. There's going to be a little bit more data given to you guys about like how much it costs, because I do have a quote, I don't think I included it this time, but we'll have it for sure by next time, of they have different price points. Edmunds does come in cheaper for the actual transfer into them, so like, if we were to choose them and start transferring into them, the cost to actually get our data from the last couple of years into their system and for all of the building of the system for us came in, I want to say, at somewhere around $30,000 to $50,000 for the actual conversion costs. And I believe that Tyler was closer to the $60,000, $70,000 for the conversion costs. But then they were both really similar in the actual annual costs going forward, which was around the $28,000 to $30,000 a year, which is pretty close to what we would be at with G-Works. There are,
G-Works Cloud?
yes, the
Not the
G-Works
current
cloud, the new
G-Works.
cloud that we will eventually be forced to.
What do
if
we
stay with
currently
them.
pay the G-Works?
It's about 23,000, I want to say, annually, so. And the more people that sign up for front desk, which we obviously want more people, the more it goes up every time for that. Have been a few hiccups with customer service with G-Works, which is what's been kind of driving some of this as well. And then that's not just a local, that is across the state. But I will surrender my time if you wanted to make a few comments on that, as Misty has been in the demos as well.
So a lot of the, I wasn't here prior to December, obviously, so I don't know how G-Works functioned prior to their transition into being sold to wherever they were sold to. But I know that coming from a place of, using other softwares in my accounting time, G-Works is difficult for me to navigate through. It's just functions a lot differently than I guess I'm used to, or I think it should. And I know that that challenge has been expressed by, some of the other gals too. And so as far as moving to another software system, it's really, we're talking about cost, which is important, but the general workflow for the day, things could be done so much faster, and I feel just a lot more efficient if we had better software. And so with Tyler, we're also, they're partnered with MRES. We can get on-site help. The Sioux Center just talked about having someone from there physically go to the site to help them, sit there with them all day long and help them, with a hiccup that they had, because they were going from an older model to a newer model with Tyler. But the general consensus around, just at the IMFOA conference I was just at with 250 plus clerks, the buzz is out that there is switching, and what they're switching to, why they like it. Tyler it's definitely the primary discussion for the best all around, just workflows and everything. I know that Edmunds there were a couple cities who went with Edmunds that later transferred to Tyler within the first year of signing with Edmunds because they just had so much difficulty with Iowa reporting. So I guess that's really just my 2 cents on the ordeal. I think the staff we really like Tyler. The way that it functions is just so smooth, and I think it would be, I told Jacob the other day, I said, I could be a rock star at my job if we had different software.
Well, then I said if you decide which one is gonna work best for your staff, and bring us a quote for it.
Yeah.
Whichever one works.
Yeah, that's kind of kind of what we're doing.
Because you're gonna pay for good software.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the nature of the beast, so.
I would stress that their quotes are encompassing and laying out what they're offering to as far as customer service and things like that, because while having that customer service is important, if it's not included in the package, it's gonna be an additional cost on top of a more expensive product. So I wanna make sure we're comparing apples to apples.
I know that also when I spoke with Adam, the representative we was speaking with at Tyler, he was at the conference, and we talked about the fact that we were having this discussion today. And I know that he had said that some of the, part of the quote, some of that could be worked on further yet. So I don't know the exact scope of that, but it was a comment thrown out there that he's very driven to get us where we need to be to make that decision.
Okay. So I'll close this out on this discussion with, I'll probably, not probably, I will be including the quotes and everything included with them to everybody. I'll have them in the next packets going forward. But regardless of how this goes down, the changes are going to take a while to take effect. Like, I'm talking over a year, over 12 months. They will start immediately, but they will take a long process before it actually happens. Doesn't matter which company you go with for that. It's just the nature of the beast and how long it's going to take to build the system. And it's going to be a lot of work, a lot of frustration, but I think every single one of the employees are ready just so that they could have something different. So I will bring that to you guys next time, and I'll probably send you guys some stuff out in between as well so that you have ample time to go through it.
Okay, good. Thank you. We're to item 10, to set a public hearing for the grant application for the flood grant.
This is simply a formality with this process. What it is trying to do is get out to the public 9 very important points, which are a description of the project, the total estimated cost of the project, the amount of the disaster recovery funds requested from the city, the amount and source of other funds to be used within the project, the proposed locations of the projects, the residential properties, so that everyone's aware of which ones will become basically open green spaces. The statement that the proposed project will principally benefit low to moderate income persons. That's always a focus of recovery. And a statement that the hearing was held basically within a facility that's available to all with disabilities. So they're just trying to cover within this public hearing, making sure everyone is aware of what's going on with the disaster recovery grant. It is a tremendous grant for the city to be included in, and we're grateful for that.
And just to specify, this is the local portion and the state portion of the buyout program. So it's
Okay.
that extra 10 and 15% that we're trying to get through this grant, so there's no cost to the city when we do the
Right.
property acquisition
Oh,
and
yeah.
tear down of
Okay.
these homes. So that's what this grant is
Which would be
covering.
huge.
Yeah. Yeah,
Huge.
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for grant application 657308.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Do we, yeah, any further discussion? If not, we'll start with Boza,
Aye.
Clucky,
Aye.
Skelling,
Aye.
Warner,
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. There is no consent agenda tonight, so it is time for us to adjourn. I'll take a motion
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. We are adjourned, and the next meeting is May 13th. Thank you.
Of course.